everybody, and welcome to Power Poppy. Today we're going to be playing with some fun shrink plastic. Now, you don't necessarily have to have this specific product. There's all kinds of different manufacturers of shrink plastic, but you can also use packaging from some of the products that you use. As long as it's thick enough, it will do the same tricks that the shrink plastic will do. You just have to kind of play around with it and just see which thickness of plastic works for this technique. Today we're going to use the Tiger Lily XL, which is a gorgeous stamp, and it is huge. And it works really well for this process because with a shrink plastic, obviously you're going to lose some size. So our image is approximately 4 inches by 4.5 inches or so. So when you use a shrink plastic, you lose size about, it reduces size by about 45%. So it's almost half. So this will become something much smaller once you apply heat. To begin, I have our large Tiger Lily stamp in. I've cut a piece of our shrink plastic and I've already actually stamped this. The secret to stamping on a shiny or a slick surface is to use a product like Stays-On ink. It's a solvent ink and meant to stamp on a slick surface. So you can't use a pigment ink like Memento or anything like that. Okay, this one is really fast drying and it works perfectly on this product. So I've already gone ahead and done that. Make sure you clean your stamp immediately after stamping. The beauty of the Misty is that if it doesn't stamp fully, which quite often on plastic, that is a problem. You don't often get a good impression the first time. So the Misty is a beautiful tool for this because you just re-ink your stamp and stamp it again, and as long as you haven't moved your image, it goes right back into that same spot and it will darken your image and you'll be all ready to take this to color. So let's go and do that. So the next step in our process is to color your image. And I'm going to use Copic markers. Now, when you go to color, I suggest that you take and flip over your image. So the side that you stamped your ink on goes to the back and the other side comes up to the front. This way you won't impact the nibs on your markers and you won't wreck them. So good trick when using Stays-On plastic is to flip it over. So I'm going to turn on some music. I'm going to do some really quick coloring, and once again, when this shrinks, that color that you put on to that image is going to intensify. So it's okay if things look a little bit light right now, but when we go to shrink our product, the color is going to just burst and we're going to have a really cool end product. So away we go. Now that I have everything colored, I'm going to actually carefully cut this out and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, everything has been cut out. Now we're going to take my corner chomper, and I want a hole because I'm going to string this onto my project. So I just literally take my chopper and I make my hole. You want to do this before you go and shrink it, because otherwise it becomes very thick, and even a corner chopper is not going to take out that amount of material. It's not going to work. You would have to drill it out. So do it before you shrink it, and then you'll have your hole. So now that you are ready to shrink it, we need to put it on a heat-proof surface. And we're actually going to pull out a heat gun. You can actually put them in the oven on a cookie sheet with some kind of barrier underneath. But you know what? Our heat tool works just as quickly, and it's instantaneous shrinking. So let's go and do that. Alright, so we've got our piece. Doesn't matter which side is up. I've got an acrylic block, which I'm going to use for flattening purposes. A pair of tweezers, because oh my goodness, it gets really, really hot. So you have to be very, very careful. And I've got my heat tool all ready to go. So I'm going to set this aside. We're going to grab it with our tweezers and make sure you have a good hold. You can actually press down and hold it that way. And let's get this heated up, and it's going to shrink before your eyes. All right, so it's still quite warm, so don't touch it with your fingers. And if you look at it really closely, hopefully I can get it close enough here. One side is kind of like a dusty gray, which is the side that you stamped your ink on. And then the other is, let's see if we can get this focused here. And the other is not. So that's the side you colored. It'll be a little bit more vibrant than the other side. Okay, and our hole is still there, so I can tie it to my project. And so you just have to be careful. This is, yeah, it's still warm even now. So I've done a few more. These ones do not have holes in them, so I'm going to attach them by just, I think, gluing them. And you're going to have to make sure that you glue them to a surface where you can see the color, because if you put it on a blue piece of cardstock, they're going to look blue or purple in this case. So just make sure that if you're going to use them and put them on a card, that you use a white background to accentuate your pieces. So I'm going to do a quick card, and I'll show you the end result in a few minutes.